Grace and peace. Welcome to another episode of the TBT Show. I'm Anthony Moten. My friend and brother and partner in crime, as always, is the Right Reverend Shawn P. Aguilar. Shawn, how are you?
Better than I deserve, sir.
I knew that. I'm gonna just start saying, Shawn is better than he deserves.
Yeah, that's fine. It's accurate.
And we're gonna school Shawn about some other stuff later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's gonna come back around, but we'll talk about it later. Anyway, there's a lot going on in our world. Some things are more serious and critical than others. On a light note, the NBA GOAT is 80 points from all-time leading points. And the assumed NFL GOAT, as today's recording, announced his retirement. Again. Before I say something that I mean to say, let me move. Tom Brady, great career. I hope this is your last retirement.
I just got one question for Tom Brady before we move on.
What is that?
Was it worth it?
This 1 year?
Was it worth it?
Losing everything.
So you got to play one extra season. You look back personally and professionally. Was it worth it? It's the same question. I don't know if you ever watched, the Avengers movies, all that different stuff. Thanos, he has to kill his daughter in order to get the last little Infinity Stone, whatever, so he can do what he wants to do and be the big bad in the movie.
Right.
And the young version in his mind asks, you had to sacrifice everything. Was it worth it?
Right.
Curious. When Tom looks back, was it worth it?
I'm actually glad he came back this year though. Because there was one franchise he had never lost to that got to send him home for the final time. So okay. Even though we didn't get the bowl, Cowboys, we did get to send.
You won the Brady Bowl.
Yeah.
I saw a post online. It said that Patrick Mahomes is from Tyler, and Tyler is near Dallas. So basically, the Dallas Cowboys won the AFC Championship.
That's one way to look at it. That is one way to look at it. I guess through
osmosis.
No, through Jalen Hurts. That's the only way the Texans would get there.
Yeah,
because he's a Houston kid.
Right. Channelview.
Yeah. So I guess Houston and Dallas in the Super Bowl.
It's Super Bowl.
That's the only way it would happen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
We've been consumed with some heaviness and and I just kind of want to talk around some things today. And again, any kind of commentary that can help guide our thought. Please don't hesitate to send it in, whether you email us or YouTube or however you can reach us. Send in your commentary. Of course, we all know the tragic passing, the senseless murder of Tyre Nichols. And so just talking around it, because again, this dynamic for us is different, but I think it presents the real problem.
Yeah.
And so for us, we've been, and I've been talking, me and Shawn have been on opposite ends when it pertains to policing and how we police. And my thing is now this proves that the danger in our culture is not necessarily white bodies in blue uniforms. It's anybody in blue uniforms.
And that was a question I was gonna ask you. Is that do you view this as a black on black problem or a blue on black problem?
I think it's always been a blue on black problem. And again, it's power and authority, although they sound alike, are very different, right? So I'm relatively strong, but I'm not strong enough to go out in the street and stop a car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and,
leap tall buildings in a single bound.
And power. But if I stood out in front of a street with a badge and held my hand up, I could stop a car.
Right.
Authority, in a lot of respects, supersedes power. And so when you give authority to immature people, this is the end result. That, to police, any group of police officers shouldn't move like a gang.
Right.
And that's what we saw.
Yes.
We saw like a pack of wolves. You're talking about 5-on-1. And it was the most, and for those that haven't seen the video, I suggest don't even see it. Take other people's word for it. It is the most savage thing you ever want to see in life. And I feel sorry for Tyreek's family. Tyreek's family,
his mother
has to view that.
Yeah.
Like, because you can't see it without part of you being enraged. Like, if you can see that and go to sleep at night, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
That we live in a culture where, hate is that. At no point, out of 5 officers, at no point did somebody say, hey,
this is messed up.
Stop, we doing too much.
Yeah, we need to fall back, because this is, and especially when you have 5-on-1, you have him on the ground, and what's stopping you from handcuffing him and putting him in the back of the squad car? You cannot possibly say that it's that 5 adult males trained to be police officers can't handle this one person who was not of great stature,
and who was not really resisting.
He wasn't, we haven't seen the toxicology, but it didn't appear that he was displaying any type of behavior that he was under the influence, or he had something where he was had superhuman strength. He's breaking out of restraints and all this different stuff. I mean, appeared to be compliant, just questioning, hey, why are you guys?
At some point he was cuffed.
Gotcha.
And again, with any kind of investigation, he's, toward the end, he's screaming for
his mother,
his mom,
who was they said he was supposed to be somewhere around 100 yards from his house or her house. Yeah. Or they live near each other, so both.
Yeah, so it's like with any level of investigation. And then, so the question is like, so what was the real, animus behind this?
I couldn't help but think that there had to be something personal.
And it's starting to come out.
There had to be something personal, because you don't have somebody hold somebody up that's defenseless. You're done. They've already, beat on him with, punches and kicks. Then they get a billy club involved. And I mean, this is just straight, undefended shots to the head.
Right.
And I have a martial arts background, and I know what it feels like with pads and without pads.
Right.
And so when you have somebody that's full strength, putting everything into a punch, it doesn't take a lot of those with zero defense, no hands up, no glancing blow, nothing. If you land squarely, that's why there's been people in mixed martial arts events that have died. Martial arts events that have died because of, just I don't want to say well placed, but you just hit somebody at the right place in the wrong way, and we can perish.
Right.
As strong as we can be, we can also be quite fragile. And so, for him to pass away as a result of his injuries, and not even just the police officers, but there was fire and EMT staff that
Did
nothing to render aid. This dude's moaning and, groaning for aid, for help, for his mother, and everybody's just like, another day at the office. You want some more coffee? We got hazelnut, vanilla. What do you like? Okay, I'll take hazelnut. That's how they're standing around, like it's just another day at the office.
That's what it was. And again, I want to keep peace and civility in my own city and communities. So like, I get it, and that's what we're working toward always. Like, how do you expect a culture of young people to see those kind of interactions? Mm-hmm. Maybe another city, another state, but you see those kind of interactions. And then when you have an interaction with the police, not to have some level of anxiety.
Right.
And and that's what it comes with. And so when people say, well, comply, well, yeah, that's fine. But the only thing that's playing in these young people's mind is that.
Right.
So yeah, they're anxious. Yeah, they're nervous. Yeah, they're upset. Yeah, they have some, standoffish. And so when you got a cop who's bullied in high school, but now that he got on this blue shirt, he's the man.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he comes with a certain, machismo and, trying to be more than what he is. And then you got a kid who's nervous and anxious. Like, it spells disaster. So even outside of, the Nichols event, and I don't believe that had anything to do with, I believe all of that is personal, and I can't wait till the investigation is done and all that comes out. And if any of what's being rumored is true, they need to go to death row, all of them.
Because according to Newsweek, Tyre Nichols had, this is under investigation, so it's not confirmed, but there is a current investigation that there may have been a connection to one of the cops' ex-wife or ex-girlfriend. So now that shades this in a whole new light.
Right. Now y'all just a personal thing.
My original inkling, my sneaking suspicion was that this had to be something personal for what I don't know.
Right.
But this is just not how a routine traffic stop goes.
Right.
Even if it were to escalate, and I'm pretty sure you've seen, everybody's got these videos that have come on their news feed or their For You page or whatever.
Right.
And you see some heightened interaction, but usually just ends up with somebody getting roughed up a little bit and getting arrested.
Right.
And a little mess talking back and forth. Not where you got five guys,
just plummeting, just beating.
Yeah. That kind of deal. So now to see that, okay, there could be some connection in terms of, okay, he's not happy that, whatever is going on with somebody he used to deal with. Now it's like, okay, now you got personal motive, and then you just got buddies that's go along with
that motive. Now it's being, it was rumored, and again, I know Newsweek, probably didn't go into details. This was on somebody.
Well, they named the specific former Memphis cop, Demetrius Haley, which was the one that is being investigated in terms of the ex-wife or ex-girlfriend.
So does it say any kind of picture was sent to her from his phone?
Let me take a look. After the beating, Officer Haley took pictures of Tyre Nichols' face and sent it to his quote-unquote baby mama.
If this is why that boy is dead, see, this just makes sense.
It makes all the it doesn't make sense because it's nonsense and it's foolish, but it's logic. I can see the logic.
The dots,
okay,
right?
You have the officer and you have the lady he was dealing with. They break up. He is sour about it, and nobody, Nobody wants to hear about that somebody else's fingers in their sugar bowl. Does that make sense? And so now it's like, okay, that's what it is. I'll show you. So let me find a reason and get my buddies, and we're gonna go show you what it is. And it's a possibility that they intended to stop him unlawfully because it was personal, it wasn't professional. Mm-hmm. They intended to rough him up a little bit. They intended just to kind of, kind of like on Friday, what you want? Crack ribs, right. Little eye gouge, right. What. So, but here's the problem with sin is that it always takes you farther than you want to go, keeps you longer than you want to stay, and it costs more than you want to pay.
Yeah. So
they may have intended to, hey man, help me out. This dude messing with my girl. I'm still trying to be with her, but this is, kind of messing up my situation. Let's go rough him up a little bit. Then all of a sudden, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry.
Shoot.
And now you didn't put a little extra on it.
Right.
And now this dude is got head trauma and he ends up dying. And all you meant to do was just kind of send a little message, rough him up a little bit, let him know.
Man, they went beyond message so far.
Right.
And that's what, so for you to use your professional career.
Right, which is a gross abuse of power and authority, both. Because you're abusing your authority as an officer,
right,
and you're abusing your power in terms of the opportunity when you have somebody in a defensive position,
right,
to exact physical punishment.
Right.
Right.
Right. And if that's the case, I would go as far as to say that's not their first time doing something like this.
Oh, no. Check this out. So they were part of a particular unit, and I love acronyms, and I'm in corporate America, so we come up with acronyms for everything. The military does it, corporations do it, all that different stuff. But these guys were part of a task force, watch this, called a Scorpion Unit. I heard another commentator say on this on YouTube that you shouldn't have, I think it was Roy Wood Jr. on The Daily Show. You shouldn't have police groups named after Mortal Kombat characters. It's usually a bad unit. But the Scorpion Unit stands for, watch this, Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. That's what Scorpion abbreviates. Stop. So they were part of a task force to operate in a way that would prevent or address street crimes and restore peace in our neighborhoods. That's what they set out to do. I'm just exegeting the name, right? Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods, Scorpion Unit.
So the Scorpion gang was going to take over the other gangs of the street.
So
that's all
right. So basically, in our neighborhoods, they made war
so they can
operated to commit street crimes. They literally went backwards.
Right.
The opposite way.
Right.
Of what was, the intended result. But this was launched November 2021, so they've had a couple years at this, or a year, year and a half or so. And they were supposed to be going to high crime hotspots throughout the city. This is a Memphis PD deal. Does that make sense?
So something tells me that's the end of that unit.
Oh, it's done. Oh, yeah, it was already done. Yeah, deactivated. But these are the guys. So you add in, I'm just trying to build the psychological profile of one of these guys, because it's, and the investigation will bear this stuff out. But when you have information where the Memphis PD is releasing this released this video.
Right.
They allowed the family and I guess the lawyers to see it a week before it came out. It got hyped on CNN and other news outlets like it was a movie premiere. It came out, everybody saw it. These guys get arrested, fired and arrested, arrested and fired, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Right.
Record time.
Right.
You know, because it's that open and shut.
It is that open and shut. And the fact that you're expendable. You're
the expendables.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
You're black. So we don't like these were some white cops, they probably would have did something different.
I would imagine so.
But you're black, so
and there was a quite pale hand that was in one of the videos where they initially tried to taser the guy. They tried to taser Tyre Nichols, but they missed. And that was a white hand. Now we haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything as far as who this white hand belongs to. You know, unless one of these guys has a severe case of vitiligo or an albino hand-arm condition or something like that. But other than that, it appeared that this hand belonged to a Caucasian male.
Wow. I'm waiting to, today was the day of his funeral, and I'm sure a lot of things were being pushed off until, the family had time to give that, some closure. But I'm waiting for investigation to kind of, bear out some of the truths of this case.
And I think that's something that's important because some people have come out and given a lot of commentary before really, hearing all the facts and claiming that things are one way. And it's, it's like, hey, look, there's a difference between rumor and fact. There's a difference between, evidence and an ongoing investigation. Right. But from everything that it appears, from the body cam footage to the footage that was on, I think, a street light lamp post, which that right there,
that
was the clear.
Did more than, that did more than the body cam.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the body cam, you can kind of, he was not compliant, this and that, and it's like, no, on that street lamp.
Yeah, that gave the real story.
That gave the fullest picture, of what actually happened. Right. The broader context.
Right.
But then to hear about this personal deal, it confirmed a suspicion. But again, we gotta let the cards be dealt out and turn a face up and see what actually comes of it. But if you have a picture that's sent from the officer's phone,
it's telltale.
Open shut. What's for lunch?
Telltale. And I think even more so, then now we should not be talking about life in prison. Like now should be a consideration of, capital punishment.
I'm not sure. Every state's different.
I don't think
in Texas. One thing about Texas, in Texas, you kill somebody in Texas will kill you back.
Yeah, because now
I'm not sure how Tennessee works.
Because now that shows premeditation.
Oh yeah.
That and even if it wasn't a premeditated murder, it was at least a premeditated plan, and that's just not cool.
No.
So I don't know how the charge would be increased, but it definitely does need to be.
Well, they charged him, I want to say, with murder too.
That's nice. Yeah.
But they might. I mean, with this, that might go to capital.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely should.
That might go to capital. But no, Tennessee. I just used the little startup machine known as Google, and they said, capital punishment.
Yeah.
Has existed in Tennessee on and off throughout its history. The methods may have changed. Their lethal injection replaced electrocution.
Yeah, it's as And
actually, you can choose. They give you a choice. You get the
wow.
So the offender
gets to choose your last decision.
Right. offenders who committed their offense and were sentenced to death prior to January 1, 1999 may be, or they can request either one. In 2000, they specified lethal injection as the primary method, but they can. I don't know why you would choose electrocution,
right? I don't know, and I know we'll talk about this more in the weeks to come, man. But it just proves that there is an issue, and beyond race, there's an issue in policing. Somebody said in a sermon presentation this past weekend, matter of fact, Terry Anderson, that we want our innocent black boys to be policed like guilty white boys. Like, if Dylan Roof could get a Burger King sandwich, surely we can at least get safely into the back seat of a car.
Right.
Like, so again, it just I just think a lot of people don't deserve the authority that's given with that uniform and a badge.
Well, and see, here's the deal: is that whenever you look at defund the police, this is who you're getting. You're getting the guy that UPS didn't hire.
I think it's the other way around. I think until you look at defund the police, this is what you're getting.
No, because it's very difficult to keep police departments staffed because of the view of police. So it's not a highly sought after position, and the pay isn't that great. So the deal is, okay, so you mean to tell me that, okay, I didn't get hired at UPS, I didn't get hired wherever, and so I can come in here, high school diploma, you guys are going to give me a badge and a gun, and you're going to train me, and I get to have this authority. Okay, that sounds like a good gig for somebody that doesn't have any better career prospects. Does that make sense? Because you're not, let's just face the fact, okay? You're not getting people that are coming out, they got a degree in criminal justice, and they want to protect and serve. In many cases, you're getting somebody that was just looking for a job.
Because they have access to money. So that tightens the discussion to what came first, the chicken or the egg. In my opinion, the reason you have scorpion units is because you got too much money. Let's just say it was a legitimate traffic stop. 5 police.
But here's the deal. This is no longer, in my opinion, in light of this evidence, this is no longer an issue in terms of the him being a police officer was just a convenience to what he was going to do anyways.
I agree.
Because if this guy, if it went down the way that it appears, where there was a connection, a romantic relationship between Tyre Nichols and the ex-wife or ex-girlfriend of ex-officer Haley.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
He was going to do what he was going to do. It just happened to be a convenience that he was an officer, that he could abuse his power and authority to make that happen.
I'm not disagreeing.
But he could have just rolled up on him.
And I'm not disagreeing.
Does that make sense?
What I am saying is the reason why you have a unit or a task unit like Scorpion with no real assignment and structure is because police departments across our nation have too much money. That money can be allocated to something else.
Now,
because again,
I'm in favor of looking at the reallocation. Sorry to cut you off, but the idea of defunding, let's go ahead and break that down. That means take money away, not reallocate. Defunding the police means to take money away from police departments.
So you don't
correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm not properly understanding the prefix.
So you don't think that monies should be taken away from the police departments and given to another vein of community service?
It's possible to look at that, but that's not taking it away.
That's what defund is.
No.
Take money away. Because
again, you got people that want to defund and eliminate.
No. So we're not talking about.
But that's under the umbrella. That's under the philosophical umbrella of someone that says I support defunding the police.
Okay. So so it's defund the police and then it's abolish the police. And while I'm not saying we need to abolish the police, I am saying we need to defund, because again, if you have, there's a lot of fat in police departments, and usually,
in the major
Memphis,
major metropolitan,
Atlanta,
but not in the Mayberries. Not in the Mayberries of America.
But you don't see issues like this in most of the Mayberries
because it's Mayberry. No fat. Because it's Mayberry. Because most of those issues, most of those places, all right, usually have more of a value system that prevents crime in the first place. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, so here's what I'm saying.
Anytime you take a bunch of people and put them in the same place, here's the deal. You ever seen Men in Black?
Unfortunately.
Okay, the original Men in Black. There's a great philosopher that appeared. His name's Tommy Lee Jones. And so he was speaking to Will Smith, all right, as their Men in Black characters. And he said, a person is smart, but people are stupid.
No.
When we get a mob mentality, we make very poor decisions.
I agree. And that's what I'm saying.
Very poor decisions.
So here's what I'm saying. There's a reason we have the police officers in metropolitan cities have a mob mentality. Because there's so much money, there's a bunch of them. If we reduce the amount of money that's spent in policing and spend it in other veins of community service, it'll still get the job done, but it won't be 5 cops to beat up on any one person.
I don't even think this even falls.
Okay.
I don't.
So how's there mob mentality if there's no mob?
No. But what I'm saying is that this right here, the mob mentality is the people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can happen in terms of police, but it's any group of people. That's how you get gangs. Does that make sense? So then all you have is officially sanctioned gang. But the problems in terms of policing go beyond the police department themselves. It goes into households. It goes into how children are raised. It goes into how society is governed. It's beyond just move around some line items. Now, I think that there can be adjustments. Now, I think that we need more counselors and less riot gear. I think that there's some adjustments that need to be made.
So you don't think we can?
But I don't agree with defunding or abolishing the police.
I didn't say abolish. I said defund.
No, but since you brought it up, I'm being.
So you don't think there are line items that can help households that we could do instead of adding to
out of a police budget?
Most cities' police budget is double what it should be anyway.
I mean, we'd have to take a look at it, and
we'll do that in the weeks to come. But if you look at Houston's police budget, like a lot of COVID money went to policing. And so while you're doing that, you have certain. So we'll say there are areas in Houston that are considered food deserts.
Correct.
But instead of addressing that, we'll give money to police to catch people stealing from grocery stores. Well, guess what? You would need less police.
Well, I would imagine that if we, this is a complicated issue. So
is it really though?
No, it is, because, and don't jump on me when I say this, because there's
I'm gonna jump on you
because you will. And so, but there's multiple layers to this. But I would imagine that the food deserts, which we need to address, I don't think is a responsibility of the police department, because they can't. That's a responsibility of private business. And that's a responsibility of those neighborhoods in order to welcome the entrepreneurship and the investment in the community. But I would imagine that the food deserts also are high crime areas. Would you imagine that that's pretty accurate? I
would say the other way.
Either way,
high crime areas because they're food deserts.
Well, either way.
Here's what I'm saying.
But here's the deal. So let's say that I want to invest. You pick the particular area, okay, and I, as a private citizen and entrepreneur, I want to open in one of these areas a grocery store.
Okay.
I want to open a supermarket.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you were my business partner and you're putting your own money in,
okay,
or you're going to be responsible for the repayment of a SBA loan or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to go into an area to invest your capital in a place where your property is going to be destroyed, your inventory is going to be stolen? Does that make sense? And because the police are defunded or abolished, you don't have any protection for your business. So when you look at these practical prospects of, let's say you get somebody that's an entrepreneur that's willing to go ahead and put in the investment, build out the facility, hire staff, all that different stuff, and begin operations. How long are they going to be in business if they're in an environment where their inventory is stolen?
Yeah, but see, here's what we're doing.
Property's damaged.
You're running to the bottom line. And again,
I'm not running to the bottom line. I'm at the starting line, because here's the deal.
No, that's the bottom line.
No, but here's the problem. Because you're not going to ever get past the business plan phase, because that's never going to be built unless we have a comprehensive plan.
So that goes at the business, because it's not, you're putting it on personal and business entities, and it's not. Houston Police Department does not create their budget. The city does.
Correct.
Crime travels. Criminals got cars, right?
Yeah.
So what's stopping crime in Northeast Houston from being crime in the Galleria? City infrastructure. It's built like that. I remember as a boy growing up in Northeast Houston.
You mean to tell me there's an invisible fence with a dog collar, and that they just don't take the exit, even though somebody got shot in the right across the street from the Galleria, who was a New Orleans police officer. But crime doesn't happen in the Galleria.
No, I'm saying, you're talking about numbers and percentages, and more crime happens in Northeast Houston than happens in the Galleria. I don't even have to look that up, but you're welcome to use your Google machine.
And I'm just saying, I see some ratchet stuff going on in the Galleria.
I remember as a boy growing up in Northeast Houston, where Northeast Houston was self-sufficient. We had, and those people that remember grew up in Lakewood, Northwood Manor, and Rosewood, like I did in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. We had our own movie at grocery stores. It was a restaurant on every corner, and there were low crime events.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was crime, we knew exactly who it was. It was community policing. They're gonna pull up. Where's Junior? Tell him he need to stop this, whatever, because they were cops in the neighborhood.
But here's the deal: there was community. There's a difference between a part of town and a community.
Okay,
you see what I'm saying? So you can have a part of town that's known as Scenic Woods, that's known as Trinity Gardens, and I'm not levying this against those particular areas. I'm just calling out a couple neighborhoods that come off the top of my head. Okay, East Aldine District. They got fancy. They talk about East Aldine District. But you have these different areas. That's what we call a particular geographic location. But a community is something that's more than just a geographic location.
Absolutely.
It's people that know and live and work around each other.
It's people and services, and that's what's different.
But here's the problem. The people that grow up in those areas that became successful.
That's not it.
You don't think it's it? You don't think that people not living in the community doesn't have an effect?
Why do the people that moved out of Northeast Houston because certain services that used to be provided to Northeast Houston were no longer provided.
Okay. Give me an example of one of these services.
When I was coming up, the hot spot for us to go to was the YMCA on Northwest Side, and Mesa kind of meets at the corner.
Okay.
That's no longer YMCA.
Okay.
The land was purchased by the city.
Okay.
You know what they're doing with it?
No.
Nothing.
So they just bought the land to sit on it.
And nothing's happening. So now kids don't have a place to go. One of the places I went to in the summertime was Boys and Girls Club.
Mm-hmm.
Right off of Jensen in the back. That no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who bought it, but it no longer. here's what I'm saying. One of the things that
okay, so let's look at the Boys and Girls Club. Why do you think that they closed down? Because they didn't get bought. I understand the YMCA, what you're talking about, it was purchased, and so obviously they had to pack up and go somewhere else. But why do you think the Boys and Girls Club closed?
I have no idea. But I do know.
Here's what I'm getting at.
I know what you're getting at.
If the household is deteriorating,
it's not it, man.
It's it.
I'm trying to tell you, it's not it.
You just gotta face it. That is what it is. If we have a deteriorating household, we have the deterioration of traditional marriage. We have deterioration of the traditional 2-parent household. We have these deteriorations. Then all of a sudden, you're going to have
this table. Shawn sounds like Jason Whitlock. Let's go.
Buddy.
Man, are you?
Now here's the deal. I disagree with his timing, but you can't say that he's
absolutely wrong.
He's not wrong. You just don't like hearing it.
No, he's absolutely wrong.
No. I don't agree with how he said it. I don't agree with the platform he said it on. I don't agree with the time. It was not the time to go down that road when a family is grieving. But we got to face the fact, bro, is that bottom line is detrimental in basically every statistic for a child to grow up without their father.
Okay, let's go. I'm shutting the show up now. Let's go for our cuss.
You don't agree? Geez. You don't agree with the facts, the data, and statistics?
Yes. But you can't.
It's a foundational issue. Not only is it an issue,
you're not finna draw a line from that to every issue. Like,
well, I mean, the bottom line issue. Look, the bottom line issue is sin.
We are
everything. Everything bottoms out to that,
course.
And then everything is just an expression of that.
We are a capitalistic society.
Correct.
Everything is about money.
Correct.
And some things that help build certain infrastructures means you have to lose something on this end so you can gain something on that end.
But you got to live long enough to fight another day. Does that make sense? And that's the problem, is that if you have a community that doesn't appreciate or provide a safe space for businesses to enter, they will exit or they will just not come at all.
Okay. And that's fine. And you can deal with it.
And here's the deal. Businesses they're owned by people.
And
you see what I'm saying?
How we police and govern in impoverished neighborhoods.
I get that
on policing than we do on neighborhood centers.
Buddy, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other. You're gonna pay for it on the front end, or you're gonna pay for it on the back end.
We're gonna look it up. We're gonna look up how much money is spent on neighborhood services and centers and community centers in impoverished neighborhoods versus how much is spent on neighborhoods that don't really need them.
Well, I can tell you that
more money in areas that don't need those kind of services than they do the areas that do.
We don't even have to go through that exercise because it's all based on taxes. So you're going to have more stuff where people make more money. I didn't say it's right. I said it's real. So the reality, now.
So we're on this cycle. What
would be better is on a state level. Does that make sense? Because you can't make Houston pay for something. Well, I mean, I guess you could do it inside the city because, you have certain things. But if they did something to where let's take a pool of all the funds, does that make sense, that come in on a tax basis and more evenly distribute the services throughout the city?
Anyway.
But it's not, because everybody's going to say, hey, keep my money near me. So if I live in River Oaks, that's I'm not trying to pay for. I'm just telling you.
I almost said it was something else because that's foolishness. And it's not true. Simply because what do they do when it comes to crime? They don't say, "Hey, look, we're going to who makes the most money because that's who's going to get the most police." They're going to put police officers spend more money in policing in areas that need that more because they have more crime. Like that's you can't pick and choose. Well, we'll do it when it comes to this, this, and this, but we won't do it when it comes to this.
It's wrong, but it's wrong. I didn't say it was right. I just said it was real.
I
just said that's what's happening.
Has high crime don't need more cops. That's it. That's just bottom line. See, you're saying it like that's.
Well, what I'm saying is that I feel like
so when it's 5 cops, to every one person that does something, this is what happens.
That's not an accurate. Based on this was personal. This wasn't professional.
This was personal, but this was possible.
It was
because
possible.
We don't know what to do with money. So we hire every cop that, whatever, and you don't.
And my deal is the answer. I feel like it's more the quality and character of the officers that are being hired that's presenting a lot of problem, and that is not being a police officer. I feel like used to be a position that was more revered than it is now. Now, the way people are so disrespectful and irreverent, and I'm not laying this on Tyre Nichols at all. I'm just saying in terms of the general society, because he was how they view, and here's the deal, it's not just how they view police, it's how they view all authority.
I know where you're going. Let's go. I know where you're going, and this is not going to end well for us. I'm gonna jump over this table. Let's go.
I'm just telling you.
Let me.
You can tell me you don't like it, but you can't tell me I'm wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
No,
it's different than my
wrong.
Argument's wrong.
Your argument's wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
I just said, when our young people see incidents like this, that makes them look at police a certain way.
I get that, but
in a 2-parent home,
but before you get to all that,
else you're finna go.
Before you get to all that, there's already a disdain and disrespect for all levels of authority,
and it always has been.
That's in the last couple generations.
It always has been.
And it's just, I mean, there's always been tension, but you can't tell me that there hasn't been a kind of marked change from the younger millennials on up. They don't have any respect. Well, I don't want to say they, because that's every single person, but a significant, portion of that generation's population, because of what they see online and because of, how they were brought up, they do not respect authority. And this is across the board. You don't think that they don't respect authority?
No, I know some young men right now.
Of course, yeah.
In a single parent home.
This doesn't have to do with single parent or not. This
generation.
It doesn't matter. It's just
Evan's buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Correct. And that's how I was raised.
Evan, yes, sir. No, sir. So you can't just say because this generation.
Have you been on the internet? I mean, have you seen? But
I'm working in schools now,
right? Yeah, no, I get that. I
see it.
I get that. But what I'm telling you is that and I applaud you, that the pastor's children are well behaved. But there's a whole wider.
So much sarcasm. There was so much sarcasm in there.
And so, but but there are others, that are not so inclined, both on the parental, level and on the children's level. Does that make sense? That don't come from the same worldview, that don't come from the same structure, that don't come from any of these things. And they are coming up and they don't respect anybody or anything. And we're going to continue to see these type of problems.
So the answer is, let's flood our streets.
Nope.
With the people that they don't respect anyway.
Nobody said that.
You see how that's just I just think we need to do something different with money. And again, I'm not, for any police officer, please don't pull me over on the way home. I'm not saying
you're asking for
you should make less money. But I am saying we don't need as many cops. We don't. Because obviously, that's not the answer. Because if it was the answer,
no, policing,
everything would be resolved by now.
It's not, but I think it's a part of a strategy between government, healthcare, entrepreneurs, business owners, corporations, in order to improve the quality of life in underserved areas. But it's much more complex than just take money away from the police. It's much more complex. And that's why I don't agree with the defund the police, and I definitely don't agree with the abolish the police situation, is because it's more complex, but it starts there because we at least have to clear the road before we can pave it. Does that make sense? We at least need to take an area that is underserved and that has high crime, and we need to put that area in terms of intensive care. And there has to be a multi-channel approach. Does that make sense? To systematically bring that up. But that requires leadership. You see what I'm saying? That requires leadership. It can happen, but like the project that we talked about, a while back, that was a Northeast Houston project. If you had the right leadership, something like that could come together. But it's going to require more than just a politician. It's going to require more than just a police officer, and it's going to require more than just an entrepreneur. Everybody's going to have to work together in order to bring about the change, and it's a much more complex issue to raise up a community in terms of their standard of living. It can be done. It has been done. But if everybody's okay with the status quo and politicians just want to get elected so they can get reelected, and entrepreneurs just want to make a buck, you see what I'm saying?
And I think all of that feeds into the possibility of another Tyre Nichols happening.
Oh, yeah.
And until we say, this may not fix it all, but it'll start, till we do something, but to just line up and do it again, that's just not
the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, but I'm just saying that it's more complex in my view. It's very complex. And I think that sometimes we jump on people because they're sharing, because you can only say so much on a segment on TV or on a YouTube video or in a press release. You can only, say so much, express so much. But I feel like sometimes we jump on people for sharing their particular perspective on one element, and then, that person's wrong, that person's this, that person's that, whatever. And it's like, hey, it's a lot more complex. That's just one piece of the puzzle. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Are you trying to save Jason Whitlock right now?
I'm not trying to save him.
Okay. He's trash.
I just said, rewind the tape. I just said that I didn't agree with.
You said the timing, but he's trash.
I said the timing, the platform, that whole deal. Yeah, like I don't agree with it.
And his thought process was trash.
Well, on some other, but not on. It is an established fact in terms of, and that's not to say that a fruitful life can't come from a single parent situation. That's not the point. The point is the degradation of family values, the moral fabric of society, and recognizing that, hey, whenever that happens, we're going to get bad results. We're going to get the best results when we follow God's design. When you have one man and one, that's all I'm saying. Okay. You have one man and one woman for life. They bear and raise children together.
You see how you qualifying it?
What?
One man, one woman.
For life.
And that doesn't necessarily always end up being.
Well, no, I get that. We live in a fallen world, but we can't run headlong. If you see that, hey, there's a problem, that children that have poor academic performance, that end up in jail, that this and that, and you study the statistics about their lives, and these overwhelming over 70% share these certain characteristics, why would you run headlong into those characteristics? Life happens, and you got to do the best you can with what you got. But I feel like we have people now that are looking at society, looking at their place, and looking what they're trying to get out of life and they're running headlong into the drivers of negative outcomes. It's like you have young ladies that aren't even interested in getting married anymore. They want to go their own way. Men that aren't interested in getting married anymore, they want to go their own way. And each one is trying to use the other for as much as they can get instead of the two becoming one flesh.
We can move, but just because you start somewhere doesn't mean you'll finish that place. So you can start off good and end up bad. You can start off bad and end up good.
100%.
Doesn't necessarily like it's.
But the statistics bear out that with the broad strokes, the overwhelming majority, if you want to have the best possible chances for the best possible outcome, is for a child to be raised by their biological mother and their biological father, who are married to each other and reside in the same place as the child. Proven fact. Can you overcome? Of course. But should you seek out single fatherhood? Should you seek out single motherhood as a strategy? That's what I'm saying is that
I don't think anybody
when we
seeks it out as a strategy.
No, there are some that it's like, hey, they don't want to get married. They want to do what they want to do, and at a certain point I have the itch that needs to be scratched in order to have a child, so then I'll have a child. But they're literally, they may not come out and say I don't want to be married, but all their actions say I don't want to be married. But then the biological imperative, to get the shot off before the shot clock sounds, right. I got to have a baby before I hit a certain age, so on and so forth. And so when you have that type of behavior, or on the other side, you have, you have a young man that is, going to impregnate, anything and everything he can. And he's either ends up being a single father, or he's a father in name only.
Right.
To multiple children. Does that make sense? And
so for clarity, for clarity,
mm-hmm.
Jason Whitlock was asked on
Tucker Carlson, your boy,
and I'm
your boy,
and I had to pray hold my tongue. Okay, so Jason Whitlock was the guest on Tucker Carlson's show, and he was asked about the entire, the Tyre Nichols
situation,
the whole event,
mm-hmm.
and he tried to place the entire event on, the decline of the households, the framework in America, and single parent homes, and which had nothing to do with nothing about nothing.
Nothing at all.
It was the price of tea in China, and again, this is a culture. We got a lot of issues, but that ain't got nothing to do with this. And I don't believe policing has anything to do with that. Now, is that an issue? Yeah. Can we address it? Yeah. But again, homes have a lot of work to do, but our states have a lot of work to do as it relates to, us being, governed, immediate governance in our neighborhoods. I don't believe the answer to crime is more police officers. I believe fundamentally the foundation to answer the crime is helping communities with other lanes of service so that young people can see themselves productive outside of crime. Let's be honest, not everybody going to college.
I get it. And my deal is that an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, and that starts in the home. That's what I'm trying to get across. But because we don't need help. I get that. Totally get that. But what I'm saying is that I don't agree with how he went about it. Wasn't the right time, wasn't the right platform. You got a bunch of stuff you didn't consider, but the facts are the facts. And that's not just a stance of Jason Whitlock. Does that make sense? He's not the only person that
I'm sure he did.
He's not the only person that reads what the statistics say and accepts reality. He's not the only person that does that. Because at some point, you just got to come down to, hey, there's just certain things that just are. They just are.
Okay.
There's just certain things that just are.
And there's certain things that just are.
You know,
you can grow up in a 2-parent household and still come out jacked.
Right. But the percentages are dramatically lower. Dramatically lower. That's why it's called statistics. It's not a guarantee. It's a projection based on a large amount of data over many years. So by collecting a large amount of data over many years, this generates the best outcome, hands down, by a long shot. And that's just is, you know, and we shouldn't be surprised that that is. We shouldn't be surprised that God's design bears the best results. We shouldn't be surprised at that.
No, and I'm not saying I'm
because to argue with that, that's basically what you're saying.
No,
yeah,
that's not.
You're basically saying that. Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening.
No,
yeah.
It's not. It's like there are, man. There are other ways.
Because it's not bashing a single parent household.
No,
it's
Whitlock bashed it.
I'm not. No. I'm saying the argument that comes from the facts and data statistics. I'm not taking up for Jason Whitlock. I'm telling you what the facts, data, and statistics say and have said, and there's no indication that the trend will change. There's none. There's no indication that the trend will change. So I hear what you're saying. All I'm saying is that take it farther in and deeper down all the way to the household level. That's where we're going to get the best results, is by healing the community. So that in that way people can live and work and play, and we can have a community instead of just that part of town.
But and then now we're talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because now in Memphis you have a daughter that has to be raised.
Well, biblically it had to be the chicken.
Now you got a daughter that has to be raised by her grandparents because these cops just killed her daddy.
No, I get that. And those are tragic. Those are tragic results of living in a fallen world.
We're saying this is the state of the community, and it's like that because of this. But we're not saying that there's a certain percentage of our African American fathers are in jail for what white people will call now entrepreneurship.
Correct. I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying the deck's not stacked against us. So if we're going to personalize in terms of the black community, I'm not saying the deck isn't stacked against us.
It absolutely
I'm saying this is what God said. This is his design, and we should do our best to try to follow it. And then when that breaks down, that it doesn't happen that way because we live in a fallen world, then we do the best we can to come alongside those families. And we should do that as a church. We should do that in terms of, government assistance and services, the things that you talked about. But the goal should not be, let me just go out there and have a bunch of kids, whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah.
And not be there to be their father. And not be there to be their mother. You see what I'm saying?
I get it. I mean, I get it, but
Martin Luther King said we live in an era where we have guided missiles and misguided men because there's no father in the home.
And so then that's the question: then why are there no fathers in the home? And again, I think that is in that state.
That is a multitude of factors.
Yeah,
in order to determine, and that's on an individual basis. In terms of what actually happened in order to make that happen. And those things are going to continue to happen. We're never going to have, all of a sudden, we look forward 20 years and we put together some initiative and now you have 100% dual parent households in a generation. It's not going to happen because we live in a fallen world, in a fallen state. Does that make sense? So what we can do though is minimize what is the result of bad things that happen in life. We can minimize that so we can maximize the potential for kids growing up, now and tomorrow and in years to come. Right. So I'm just saying it's going to take more than just one prong if you will, in terms of, okay, defund the police, which however you decide to define that, that is not a panacea. It's not a cure-all for all social ills would just be solved.
No,
if
but
you
I
just
think
cut somebody's budget.
I think it'll.
And I'm just telling you, here's when we look at the tea leaves and the crystal ball, here's what's going to happen when you defund the police. Which I already laid out. It's just going to be very difficult for entrepreneurs to justify going in and starting businesses in those underserved areas when their investment is not protected.
It's not now.
Which is why they're not there. That's the point that I'm trying to get across, is that it won't be there.
Save the presence of something that's already not there.
No, what I'm saying is that this is how you bring that in. If you want investment to come in, then there's got to be a particular environment.
Build the infrastructure to where it's better before that even comes in anyway. It's already not there.
But the problem is that when you say infrastructure, that is in part police presence. So you're saying tear down the infrastructure that helps create the environment for the investment. But at the same time, you want the investment to come in and...
No, I said this is outside of investment.
No, but it's not outside of investment. You can't get outside of it.
Cutting the police budget, adding other avenues of... Like, a lot of kids in impoverished neighborhoods get into trouble because it ain't nothing else to do.
Well, why is there nothing else to do?
I just told you they took the Y and the Boys and Girls Club.
I get it, but where are the parents?
Okay. You're moving on. You're like Skip Bayless now. Come on.
No, but what I'm saying is that
what's her name, Molly? Come on, Molly.
Yeah,
let's go to the next.
Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next.
This dude talking about where the parents.
No, but
at work, they're where my mom and dad was.
Right, but here's the deal: is that the only reason that they don't have anything to do is because they don't have somebody that's directing them on what to do. So if they don't have the parental influence in terms of, hey, this is what you should be doing, and so it's like you need to have a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club in order to distract them from their boredom so they don't commit crimes?
Yes.
Okay. So then if that's the case,
okay,
it's only that way because they're not being directed to do anything.
Like, my mom was giving direction, but like kids, man, let's go. Sometimes I almost forget, like, that we were raised drastically different. Like,
but not really. We really weren't. We raised in basically a similar area.
So I had, like, there was a circle of us that walked to school, walked home from school, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you did have the freedom to whatever. But we had, like, there was a neighborhood park. Mm-hmm. There were people at the park that, my very first time playing organized basketball was for Lakewood Park.
Yeah. Crowley Park.
They don't even have that kind of. So on the way home,
they don't have the organized
the
park.
guy, the coordinator at the park was like, hey, we get a ball, take a couple shots. He's like, hey, go home, do your homework first. Mm-hmm. Like, that wasn't instruction from mom. There wasn't direction from dad. There was a park coordinator.
Right, but it's still an authority.
That personality no longer exists.
I understand that.
And all I'm saying is put those type of people back in our communities and see what happens, because I believe if you build them like they were built in the 80s,
I agree.
Then you'll have community again.
I agree.
And you won't
But why is that guy not there? Why is that guy not there?
Because we are a capitalistic society. Either the city or the county paid him, and they looked up one day and said, hey, look, why are we paying this guy to impact lives?
You don't think it was because the crime escalated in that area?
No. Because now
he's like, maybe I need to move out?
No.
You don't think so?
No, he knew all of us.
Well, I'm just saying for that particular individual that you may know, but I would venture to say that there's, examples where people are just like, hey, look, they got robbed, they got this, they got that, and there's no police, presence around. And it's like, I don't have to deal with this. I'm moving to this other part of town, community.
So even if that personality moves out, instead of replacing that personality with a cop car,
Mm-hmm. But let's say you replace that person. Let's say they replace that person, but they replace them because of the budget with an individual that doesn't have the same qualifications, doesn't have the same passion, doesn't have the same expertise. And what happens is that there's this slow erosion in the quality, and then eventually it gets to a point where somebody does look at the budget because it's no longer being effective. And so what do we need to have this for? Eliminate that line item, so on and so forth. But usually what happens is something starts out nice, degrades over time, and then is eliminated. That's usually what happens in business and government. It starts out, falls off, dead. And then to restart the investment back into it, now you got to have people behind a politician that now I need to spend some money, but nobody wants to pay more taxes.
So instead of doing
we want all the services. We want all the services, but we don't want to. We don't want to raise taxes.
5 more cops.
Just saying. But I don't think that. I don't think that's what's happening.
That absolutely is.
I don't think they're just hiring 5 more.
Listen, they cleared out 5 acres of land in Northeast Houston and built a substation.
Okay.
In a 8-mile radius, there are 3 substations. Where when I grew up, there was none.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's over time, that's what happened. Get rid of this, get your cop. Get rid of this, get your cop. Get rid of this, get your cop. Now, there's a cop on every corner. There aren't those service items to help.
I guess I just don't see these cops on every corner and up and down Aldi mail route.
Okay, we leave here today, ride to my mama's house with me.
Okay, let's go.
And I'm going to show you.
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay. I didn't see him on Homestead.
How far did you ride down Homestead?
I'm just saying.
Because there's a cop on every 3 steps on Homestead.
Let's go ride.
Okay.
Let's go ride.
Okay,
buddy.
Every time we pass by,
maybe we need to take the show on the road.
Yeah,
and
so I can prove you wrong.
Interview some police officers and see what they had to think.
Okay,
see what they have to say. Because here's the deal.
I was a part of PACA.
Right, I remember you talking about that.
Police and Clergy Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm gonna do my best to get around. They did away with that, and that was merging the community and police.
Right, and those type of things are valuable. That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about.
They are, but we take away from that so we can hire more beat officers.
Mm-hmm.
So when people start talking about defunding the police, they're not talking about do something. We don't need any more beat officers. That's only gonna make a bad situation worse. Do something to prevent us being in a situation where we need beat officers.
Oh, I agree.
That's all defund the police. When you start talking about people and their money, people get antsy. And the other
because it goes beyond just hiring. It goes into benefits. It goes into pension. It goes into all these different things. When you say that, so I'm just telling you.
When you say defund, just think about.
First of all, it's just terrible marketing. It's the worst possible brand. If I could talk to the Democratic strategist that came up with this term,
it's like,
bro,
it's legitimate.
You missed it.
Think
you
about
missed it. It doesn't play in Peoria.
Think about what each cop head means. Right. So you're talking about their salary.
Right.
Talking about their benefits.
Right.
Talking about their uniforms.
Right.
Talking about their equipment.
Yes.
Talking about their training.
Yep.
Vacations, 401ks, all of that.
Yeah.
Each cop, you're talking about $120,000, $130,000, $150,000.
But that's not what they make.
That's not what they make, but that's what we spend.
That's what we spend.
So when you're talking about defund the police, you're talking about, I guarantee you, Houston Police Department's budget is well over $2-3 billion a year.
And let's say that it is.
You don't think a percentage of that money would be well spent?
I think that definitely that there could be a reallocation. I think they would have been, better served in a branding and marketing sense, putting it a different way, defunding.
So defund moves you, right? It's like,
No, I'm just telling you.
That's why.
To me, to me, it doesn't matter because 6 in one hand is half dozen in the other. Defund, refund, fund, unfund. You know, at the end of the day, money leaves one account, goes to the other, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to me because I understand how accounting works. I'm saying it's poor marketing and branding on the part of the Democratic strategists. They're trying to advance the position. They should have called it something else, is the point I'm trying to make. If they would have called it something else, you know, they may have had better traction. But you want to get a bipartisan bill with a bunch of, you know, Republicans that you want me to put behind my name, behind our supports, defund the police? Never will it ever. It was just a poor decision, and that happens all the time on the Democratic side. They have an idea that has some merit, but it's poorly executed. Story of the last 20 years of the Democratic Party. They make bad decisions on how to move their policies forward. That's what I'm trying to get across as far as the defund the police.
I say if the word defund makes you uncomfortable, that's why you use defund.
$5 billion.
$5 billion.
5.7. $5.7 billion.
$6 billion. Shawn, $6 billion.
Now understand, so watch this. Oh no, I'm sorry. How much funny? So the cities is 5.7. Let's see, where's police? Public safety is 1.65 billion. So I would say that's probably them. The police department itself, because you got to back out of public safety, fire, EMS, and municipal courts. That's how they categorize it. So in 2023, 1.02 billion. So 1 billion is the police department budget, according to the Houston Chronicle, as of July 7th last year. That's the budget, $1 billion. Now, that's for the fourth largest city in the country, one of the largest cities in the world.
Because, again, you're talking about cars. And it's just, it's way too much when you can use those resources for something else that would stop you from needing to spend that kind of money. Like you're talking about half of these kids, and I'm talking about kids now, teenagers that get into issues, half of them, you're going to go get them right back.
Well, let me give you some context as far as the money. We spend much more money on public works, $2.67 billion. The fire department is about 60%, $559 million. The airport system is $517 million. And then the rest goes down the list. But basically, you have the fire department, and we spend 40% more on police.
Than the fire department.
Right. Than the fire department.
I mean, you know, that came out a couple years ago because the fire department wanted a raise.
Right.
Because police had already gotten a raise.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So I'm just telling you, though, just to give it a little context, because these numbers sound really big, but that you have to hold them in context of the total budget. And so they're not the biggest line item, as opposed to the federal budget where military is the biggest. Does that make sense? So you're spending, of course, a lot of money because it takes a lot of money, but it's coming from a lot of people. So you just got to put it in the context, though. So it's like, just giving you something giving you something to consider. Okay. Does that make sense? Because where's defund the fire department? Where's defund the public works? You know, more potholes, please.
Hey,
where is that picket sign?
Okay, but it doesn't exist because the fire department does spend money on preventative fire stuff, right? Correct. So they do go presentations to homes and do smoke signals,
marshals and all that stuff,
right? To
correct.
They do preventative stuff. What is the preventative police stuff?
Well, it should. I know what it should be. I don't know what it is.
We don't do it. That's what I'm saying. Like, so yeah, that line item is going to keep going up as far as how much money we spend on police, because our answer to crime is more police, not trying to get to the base of crime.
Well, I'll put it to you like this, give you some more context. Okay. So in terms of the country, Texas is only number 23 in terms of their police department budget. So if we widen it out from Houston to the state of Texas, so we're about in the middle. We're about in the middle, out of 50. Or, well, I think they got 48 on here.
That Houston is 23?
No, Texas. Texas is 23 in the country, which there's more money spent in Florida, Nevada, Maryland, California, D.C., I'm going down the line, Arizona, Alaska.
I can see that. That makes sense. But
New Mexico, Delaware, Idaho, Virginia.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So I'm just telling you.
There might be some skewed numbers. You need to do some more research in there.
I'm just telling you. That's the spending by state.
I just, we would be better served to spend a little more.
And that includes police and corrections. So that's prison too. So maybe some of
that has to be.
So maybe there's some gigantic prisons in some of these places.
That has to be skewed. Something's wrong, definitely. Or unless it's not including privatized prisons.
No, it's not going to include privatized.
Yeah, well,
no.
Okay. That I don't. Again, I just feel like we could do more, and and it won't completely eradicate every issue, but I believe, attacking that will help.
Oh, let me. This is not total dollars. This is percentage of budget spent on policing.
See, that makes
percentage. Percentage. Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Percentage, but still but it's still relevant though. It's still relevant because it's obviously
Texas is larger, so.
Well, what I'm saying is relevant in terms of, the number one spot. They're spending the largest percentage of their budget directly on policing, Florida. Okay, Ron DeSantis. So Texas is in the 23 spot. So we're spending less as a percentage of the budget. It just gives you an idea of, okay, where we're allocating our money. So just something to take into account.
Texas has a lot of rural too, so.
Correct, which keeps
it.
Which suppresses some of that.
Right.
But like, say, for instance, you think Kentucky and Iowa don't have that? They spend the least. But then when you look at who spends the most, Nevada has a lot. It doesn't seem like it, but Nevada has a lot of rural. I mean, there's only really two main cities there. You got Vegas and Reno.
Yeah.
Lake Tahoe, people, might want to go hang out, whatever. But you got a lot of just desert. Now, Maryland, pretty dense, but they're spending, let's see how much. Almost 50% more than Texas is. So I'm just saying that, when you delve into the numbers, I know these numbers are big numbers and all this different stuff, but this is part of why, I'm in favor of some reform and reallocation, and especially things that are preventative in nature. But the way defund and definitely abolish police has been presented in terms of, that you just want to go in here and just hack away and all this different stuff. It's like, hold on, this needs to be done with a scalpel and not with a axe.
I don't know. We can agree to disagree.
Fair enough.
Because I think the more and more these type of events happen, the more and more you see that it's just, it's the fat that causes, the possibility of all of this. Like, add to the budget, add to the budget, add to the budget. Okay, get more cops, get more cops, get more cops. And then now what are we going to do? Well, let's be like ants and go jump on this one somebody. Mm-hmm. And it's possible because you're talking about, absorbent budgets with, extra personnel to go to areas of poverty and, just.
I mean, we need a change. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
That definitely. We need a change. Definitely. I think that really the difference is just how do we go about change that's going to bring the most positive outcome?
Right.
Does that make sense? And I think that's something that our elected officials, across the country need to take a look at. Is, hey, forget this, forget the R's and the D's, forget the red and the blue, and forget the labels, and just sit down at the table and say, look, man, we got people that are dying in the streets.
Right. Well,
we got
that.
You see what I'm saying?
Is not gonna happen.
Probably not. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is what needs to happen.
Right. Right.
What needs to happen is that stakeholders need to come to the table. Government, business, community, church, and hey, what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? How can we fix it? And have a multi-point plan and go community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, and start making a change. But I think that the whole case in terms of Tyre Nichols, in terms of it's tragic, but this, to me, I think had much more to do with a personal vendetta.
Yeah. Yeah. It probably did, but it does still expose for us that, but the war is in inner city neighborhoods still. It's not white bodies in blue uniforms.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
just the blue uniform.
Yeah, right.
That. So, again, that I just wish we were colorblind even when it came to the uniform. But that, I mean, as long as it persists, and you can't get a community or a culture to turn down the interaction when we're not the ones turning it up. So, it's sad, but again, thoughts and prayers with the Nichols family and another innocent young black man,
tragic loss of life.
Yeah, that's over. Listen, there's a couple more that we want to hit, and then we'll be out. What else is
man? Had a couple things in education. Another key piece. Ed Reed. His situation with Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah. And I want to see how that's going to shake out too. They released something yesterday. I didn't get to read through it. That they had
about the mold and the mildew thing.
Yeah, well, they said they had a couple reasons as to why they didn't pursue the contract thing with Ed Reed.
He was actually, to my understanding, he was never actually hired.
No, they just said, we're going to sign a contract.
Right. In principle, they had agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what it would look like.
Right.
But
then when he exposed the other things.
You ain't going to talk about me and get no check here.
Right. They were like, going on, whatever. Of which turned out to be a big fallout because you had some parents and some other students that
they wanted him to be there. Yeah. You had students that had gone to the transfer portal, and I'm here for Coach Reed and so on and so forth. And man, highly recommend for more on it. Roland Martin, I feel like did a really good.
Roland's the guy, man.
He is. Shout out to Roland Martin.
Yeah. Houston.
Yeah.
H-Town. H-Town, yeah.
A&M grad, So, but yeah, he was trying to engage with the leadership, and, they didn't want to meet with him, but then accuse him of one-sided reporting. And it's like, okay, well, I invited you.
Right.
I invited you to come on the platform so we could, put the talking heads up and you can go ahead and say your piece. You can't decline the invitation and then say that somebody's
reporting one side.
Yeah, somebody's only reporting one side. Well, I mean, you're not presenting your side.
Right.
Probably because you're dead wrong.
Right.
I mean,
you have no leg to stand on. And that's a HBCU experience. We'll have to do a show on it. It's different, man. It's different. It is different. And Evan just transferred.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was at Wiley College. It's just different, man. And we keep talking about how we lowered the standard, and we talk about how we're not getting the type of money that other schools are getting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's how you spend money.
Well, it's how you. It's a couple things. It's how you spend money, and then also the alumni of HBCUs don't give.
Right.
So nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
And some of they don't give because of how you spend money.
Right. So you have some people that are like, okay, I would like to give, but I don't feel comfortable giving to you because I don't think you're going to be a good steward of the gift. So I can see that for some, but if we're real, a lot of people just aren't giving.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you can say,
and you don't have to necessarily do this tremendous Robert Smith level gift.
No, you don't.
Millions and billions.
But see, okay, so there was
even if every alumni just sent in $100 a year.
There was a guy that did something. I think the graduating class last year, all of their
wiped out their account.
Yeah, he wiped out paper and Wiley, and so
nice.
Yeah, and so again, like it happens. So if you don't have to spend on certain things, then do some other things to help. And I'm gonna tell you another issue that I have with HBCUs, and I spent some time in Texas Southern. Texas Southern's probably better than most. As shocking as that is, as far as this, but it's almost like staff doesn't know what they need to know. Staff, you sit through a staff meeting and like, what did you get out? Because you'll get to one member that'll say, okay, yeah, we just talked about you're supposed to do this. But then this other, member says, it's almost like the dysfunction and disorganization that our culture is known for is amplified on a college campus.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst thing you want to get is a student who's frustrated, who stands in a line at a certain desk for hours, only to get to the front to find out he's in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Somewhere else.
You came on a Monday between
somebody gave him some wrong information.
11 and 1. We need you to come back on Thursday at this other building between 3 and 5.
So Evan does his transfer and he figures out tuition-wise, he was paying more.
For less, basically.
I think we just do ourselves a disservice. So again, that's like,
I agree.
And to those that want that HBCU experience, I hey, there's nothing like it. It's when you're on campus and all that's good, but the other stuff, man, we got to do better and getting that standard up to make sure we.
And that's the deal. That's the word.
Yeah,
the standard.
Yeah,
holding the standard. And holding the standard and holding administration to a standard.
Yeah.
There needs to be, and I think this is, and you kind of hinted on it, I think this is something that in our culture, we have a problem with in terms of a standard of excellence. Because what happens is that somebody gets into a position, they're comfortable, so on and so forth. They just want to get what they're there to get and then move on and, to Hades with everybody else because I made it. And, you got the situation with, I think it was TSU with the police chief and they, all that situation. Yeah. So I want, a campus police officer to come carry my handbag when I go to the gala, the ball, all that different stuff. And so, you got funds being abused. You're taking somebody off of, doing their job, all that different stuff. And then when somebody calls you out, then it's, let me find a way to fire them. So we've got to have a standard. And you know what? It used to be when those institutions were founded, that it was a high level of excellence in execution.
Right.
You were getting, in many ways, a better education than going to a PWI.
Because they understood, because of culture,
we have to do it better.
Right. You have to be
faster,
10 times better.
cleaner.
Right.
You got,
and it's like now, it's almost just handing things over to so many different people.
Right.
Like now you lose the value when it was first handed off.
Right.
Right. Like, if somebody founds a church.
It's the kingdom of gold, silver.
And, it's like, somebody founds a church.
It's the degradation over time.
His successor is going to be close to him. Like, as far as, because it's like, I'm handing this to you. Mm-hmm. This is my heart. This is what I've seen. This is what, our drive is me. But it's like, when he hands it over, and then he hands it over, then he hands it over.
It's like diluted. Yeah.
Diluted a lot. And it's like, it's far from the original.
Right. Copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
And now it's faded. And so that's what's happened.
Yeah.
So now HBCUs is like, they charge this, so we want to charge this. Well, they charge this, so we want to charge this.
Right.
But then you're not giving what they're giving. And
it's a vicious cycle because you're not spending the money. There are people that made decisions to not spend money in the right places 20 years ago, and now it's showing up now. But man, if I do this, then I won't get paid when I'm supposed to get paid. So kick the can down the road. And then eventually you end up with molding dorms.
Right. Right. And then you're frustrated when our culture's best seeks out PWIs.
Right.
Then
so don't get mad. So don't get mad. Don't get mad.
And that's what it is.
Get glad. You need to get out there with a trash bag and clean some of this stuff up.
Yeah, and clean, right.
Right. But that's the deal. And so I feel like some people are made to feel like they're not black enough because they went to a PWI.
Right. Right. Right.
Right. And that's kind of the deal. It's like, oh, well, you didn't go to HBCU and so you ain't real or this or that or blah, blah, blah. But then you go to HBCU and you have and I'm not levying this on any particular institution, but we've seen that the quality of the education is not always on par. Then you get out into the workforce and your performance is not on par. And so you're kind of behind.
Right.
And you didn't have the environment of a PWI to learn how to code switch.
Right.
And so now you're behind in a couple different ways.
Right.
You're behind in the office politics and you're behind in the performance of the profession.
Right.
So there's some things that need to be taken into account.
And then, you're watching. So you're watching your schools or schools like.
So when you go to get a master's,
right.
Where are you going to go to get your master's? Oh, okay.
Common sense.
You see what I'm saying? Oh, well, no, I'm gonna go over here because this guy or this girl got ahead. So I may have gone to XYZ HBU for my undergrad, but for my grad, I'm gonna go over here.
Hey, and then I'm saying this, we've one of the things from our culture that we've given, or that's very prominent on campuses of HBCU campuses, is that we always looking for the hookup.
Yeah,
you can get a Deion
take pride
Sanders.
in paying full price for something.
Absolutely,
take pride in that.
A Hall of Famer or an Ed Reed, a Hall of Famer, at a low cost, and then will complain. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that. It's that we always looking for the hookup, and I get it, but you get what you pay for. And these same, the Deion Sanders, the Ed Reed, the Eddie George, like there are other schools,
right,
that will pay them 10 times as much.
And here's the deal: he may not. It's not about the way more money. It's about how you're treated.
Right.
And there's kind of a saying in business is that, if I come to you with, hey, improve my situation, if you deny me and there's no business case, all you're doing is making my ears get bigger. So now I'm just going to entertain.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Because it's one thing if it's like, hey, look, there's something going on in the industry or something going on in the market, something going. But if someone's in a business environment, they're not getting treated well by their employer, and they're sending calls to voicemail, it's like, hey, look, we want you to come to our organization. We want you to come to our organization. This works in business. This works in education.
Right.
Everywhere.
Right.
And so if constantly, it's like if there's a feeling that you're not being treated
fairly.
Not necessarily that you got the best treatment or what somebody else got, but it's like, hey, if it's like, hey, this is not fair and equitable, then all you do is make that person's ears bigger. Then they just start
hearing everything,
entertaining the offers that they were not even allowing to get past voicemail.
Right.
And so when you then somebody comes across with this way over and above offer, it's like, well, why should I stick around here and not be appreciated?
Right.
Why should I stick around at a place that underreports ticket sales in order to not pay me a bonus?
Right. And because now they prove,
in the case of Dion said,
you know what I'm saying? So now that proves like the difference between we can't pay you and we
won't pay you. That's the thing.
Right.
Especially when I'm generating the sufficient revenue.
They sold out everywhere.
You see, I'm generating the revenue in order for you to have the money to pay me in the first place.
Right. But then you're mad at a school like Colorado that says, we'll sign in for this amount. And well, okay, well, why'd y'all get it? And then the athletic director says, we don't have the money.
But we'll get it. We'll get it because we know he brings revenue with him. And now that they've been good stewards, the boosters are like, oh, we got Deion Sanders now. No problem.
Let's break it off.
Here you go.
Because we want to keep him because we value him.
Exactly.
So he'll be valued more at a PWI than he was
at a HBCU. And here's the deal.
But didn't
have to. He not swag. Exactly. And I'm pretty sure he took that as a compliment.
Man.
I'm pretty sure Deion Sanders is like, yeah, I sure am not. You are absolutely right about that. And he can't say that. I'll say it.
Say it for him.
I'll say it for him. But it's like, he probably was like, yeah, bro. I mean, not in an arrogant way, like I'm bigger, but I am.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not Big 12.
And you're not going to treat me. And you're not going to treat me well?
Right.
Oh, buddy.
Right.
I'm out.
Right.
So I don't, I totally see why he made the decision he made.
Yeah, I do too.
But we can't keep asking people to be pillars in the community and shortchange them.
Right.
And not invest in them. And I feel like there is a deal where there should be some understanding in terms of building a legacy. And you may not be able to afford to pay what some other organizations can pay. But if you treat people fairly,
they'll stick around.
They'll stick around for, quote unquote, the cause, for the culture, so on and so forth. Right. But when you mistreat people, you can't expect them to stick around for the mistreatment. And then, demonize them, whenever they leave and expose the corruption in the organization. So,
and I'm glad that Ed Reed exposed, because if he didn't,
don't agree with how he did it.
I don't
agree with how he did it because it was unprofessional. But hey, I mean, it shined a light. And
according to him, he went through professional means.
Right.
And got shut down.
And that's the thing. And Deion did the same thing. Yeah. Hey, man, ain't no way. The math ain't mathing.
Yeah.
I got 60-something thousand. Y'all report 28,000, which is convenently 2,000 less than for me to hit my bonus.
Right.
So it's
right.
Come on, man. Something's wrong with your arithmetic.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to go get one of these get one of these math professors to come explain to me.
And I believe it because I know I can see how that would, what I'm saying? But
they don't want to be embarrassed, but they also don't want to spend the money. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
You have to. And so if you want to operate on a certain level, then, there's going to be costs and expenses that are associated with that. The problem is people want to, as you said, they don't want to trim the fat. They want to have their cushy job. They want to have their salary, this, that, and the third. And this may disrupt that whole program. Because now I can't drive Mercedes. I got to drive Mazda now.
Right.
In order for me to do the right thing.
Right.
President or chairman or whatever that person's title is.
Right.
But they've reached a stately position in life and so on and so forth. And part of that is their position, with the university, and they want to get what they've arrived to instead of, hey guys, we need to roll up the sleeves and we need to, right the ship.
Mm-hmm. Wanted a hookup. Holla if you hear me.
I was just about to say. I was just about to say that.
What you know about that? Man.
Yeah, man.
Listen, we we've enjoyed our time. Thank you for joining us. Listen, if you have some commentary, especially about our community and what we could do to maintain where we are. Houston's not as bad as other cities.
It really isn't.
Our connection and with policing, it could be worse. It could be better,
of course,
but it could be worse. So if there's some ideas as to what we need to do to kind of better our city, better our communities, especially those of us that live in quadrants of the city that are deemed impoverished, if there's anything that we could do to do better, whether that is community-wise or church-wise or city-wise, whatever it is, you have some suggestions, definitely send them so we can pitch them around, throw them back and forth, and see what we come out with. I'm going to do my best to have, and maybe we can do it a different setting, maybe a live setting with maybe a couple other pastors and some community leaders, just about what needs to be done. Because again, we want to make our city as best as we possibly can. I want to have something to pass on to the next generation.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for joining us. John, you got anything going on this week?
Man, I got a bunch going on this week, but pertinent to the show.
Yeah.
Man, 'cause always running, man.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything off the top of my head in terms of by the next airing.
Yeah. I don't have any community things. I do have a meeting next Monday, so I'll probably have some information to share with us. Man, please keep our community leaders in prayer, our city leaders in prayer. Shout out to Tasha Jackson and all that she's doing, trying to do. Pastor Gentry's helping her. So shout out to him, and then all those pastors in Northeast Houston that are doing their best to be a part of the solution in our neighborhood. So again, man, thank y'all for joining. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts,
Spotify.
Listen, if you are
like, comment,
yes, please
share.
do.
We want to hear your comments. We like reading the comments.
Yeah.
It
gives. Usually, I'm right, Sean's wrong, but tell him that somebody other than me tell him. And if you follow us on any social media platform, please share those as well, so we can expand our platform as much as we possibly can. Again, we're nothing without you guys, so thank you for joining us. Pray for each other, look out for each other. All we have is each other. And until we see you again next week, grace and peace.